See these muscles here? Well, the next 3 videos I'm going to break down into hamstrings. So I'm going to break a few exercises into the tutorials how you can help with your hamstring flexibility and strength. So let's get started. The first exercise, you're going to need a platform. This platform is going to be a little bit lower than your hip height. So you can see here, it's a little bit lower than my hip height. This weight is for my next exercise, working between 1 to 3 kilos with the weight, preparing if you want to prepare. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place my leg onto a platform for whichever leg I'm stretching. Okay? And I'm going to move that leg. If the knee doesn't come down here, that's okay. Over time we're stretching, it will do. The knee comes down, perfect. Now, I'm going to place a right angle here on the front leg. So I'm moving along until I have that right angle. Move the knee a little bit, so if you have discomfort, you don't have to worry about that. Now, I don't want to open up my hips like this. Even if my knee is lifted, I want to have square hips. So I want to think about bringing this leg slightly back. You can see it's not directly under my hip. And I'm going to scissor my legs in that I'm pulling my front glute leg back a little bit and pushing my other glute forward. So active back glute, active front glute. So therefore square in your hips. From here, I'm going to start to lean over like I'm going to reach something yummy on the table. And I'm going to keep squaring, lengthening, and I'm going to stretch my hamstring and my hips here. It's going to be a really nice stretch because sometimes what happens is that the glutes get tight, and so we need to stretch out those glutes. And that also links into this hamstring being able to elongate. Now the other thing we're linking into is this rounded back needs to lengthen out, pelvis is pushed under, and we're coming forward. We're breathing deeply into this and we're squaring the hips. So you get a nice long line through the hamstring. You get a nice glute activity and square hips. You get a nice tilt in the pelvis, which helps with the lengthening and the ability to understand pelvis action to get into hamstrings without injury. And then you get a nice long spine here, and you hold here for 1 minute. So again, when we are working on hamstrings, or we are working on any parts of our body, we have to link it into other parts. So if I was to do it on this side, again, the knee doesn't have to come down, or can. I'm not directly under, I'm pushed back. I am not open in my pelvis, I'm square. Now, as I do that, I'm going to bring myself up tall, lean forward, either straight back, and then feel that stretch. Each side will be different. Negotiate with the knee so there's no pain. You might want to move the leg out or in a little bit. So even though I said for this to be square here, it doesn't have to be square here. If you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, then move a little bit left or right to find where you find that comfort. And hold here for about 1 minute, do it twice through. Now from here, we're going to move into a lunge position. So we're going to step forward in a fairly active long step or step backwards, whichever you find easier. This is a kickstand here. You're going to be up nice and tall here. You're going to square off the hips just like we did before, and you're going to bring an engagement into the abs. Keep that leg long at the back, and you're going to keep that engagement by tucking your pelvis forward and pull your ribs in. From here, you're going to rotate across the knee and feel a really fiery glute on the front leg. That glute is firing because otherwise we would open up. Okay, so we're keeping nice, strong, up tall, square hips, active abs, so pelvis tilted forward and rotating. So as this gets easier, if I go through this side, so it's on a train track, pelvis comes forward, ribs in. As this gets easier, what you can do is use the kickstand and you can walk your leg forward and go a little deeper. But you must keep that pelvis square here and then rotate through. It's building strength in the glutes and stability in the hips, which means that when you go into a hamstring movement like this, you're not rounded. No hamstring activation will really occur when you are rounded like that. So you really need to build strong hips to square off your hips to give activity to the lengthening of your hamstrings. And you also need to build strong glutes to support your lower back, as well as support your core to be able to do this hamstring stretch. It's really important to understand as we're doing flexibility, we're also building strength in movements. So although these are working strongly on the hip alignment, strongly on the glute alignment, they are also working to benefit you when you're working on your hamstrings. Because sometimes when we don't get flexibility, it's because we need strength in surrounding areas. So try these 2 exercises and then go into some hamstring stretches. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to ring that bell and subscribe. And I'll see you next time for maybe 2 more little kind of tips that you can do to help with your hamstring flexibility. Namaste.